So we are reconvening the public session at 7:51 p.m.
Okay.
Just so you all know, we just had an executive session. We had an update from the search committee for the new director. And they'll be interviewing this week. That's what they told us. So, all right, so shall we move to the minutes? I know there was some discussion via email late today about the minutes.
Yeah.
Did everybody get the copies that Liz and Ronnie sent out with their suggested changes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. There's
So
still...
can we? I'm sorry. I was going to say, can we accept them with Liz's changes, which were the ones on top of Ronnie's? Would everyone agree to that?
Okay. Did you get rid of? Right. I guess we'll go with what Liz is, because Liz backed on what I said, and
right,
and then added the other ones, and the one where I don't know, and the one where with the motion to accept the resignation of the retirement. So, okay, that's fine.
All right. So if everyone's comfortable, we're going to accept the minutes as corrected. Thank you. Next on the agenda is interim director. As many of you know, particularly Martha knows, that
Yes,
on August 7th, we had an executive session with the board members, and we appointed Martha Alcott as the interim director. Thank you so much for accepting, Martha. We're thrilled, and I know that the staff is thrilled too.
You're very welcome, and I'm very happy to provide some continuity and familiarity at this really difficult time. We've been through a lot, and I'm happy to steer the ship right now. So thank you very much for putting your trust in me.
Thank you, Martha. We appreciate it.
Fix the date.
I'm doing that right now. Yeah. So we did pass a resolution, and we're going to amend it tonight. So we're going to amend the resolution for the dates so that Martha Alcott is appointed interim director from August 7th, 2020 through October 2nd, 2020. So do we need to vote on that amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. So I move that we amend the resolution to appoint Martha Alcott as interim director from August 7th, 2020 through October 2nd, 2020. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ronnie seconded?
Seconded, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to assume that was unanimous, correct?
Yes.
Good, looks great. It's a little hard without the video for that, but good. So thank you again, Martha, and we really appreciate it. And I know you'll have a report for us later tonight, so.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yes, okay. The next thing on the agenda is the library insurance policy. It's time for our annual review and renew. Does anybody have questions? The question that I have is about the cyber insurance. I don't think it's necessary, but I, of course, want to hear what everybody else has to say.
So we actually have cyber insurance, but it's through a different company. And I believe we just renewed it. So I think I'm not sure. Martha, are you aware of why we chose to go through a separate company for that?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I don't know if this is a new offering that wasn't previously available to us through our library. Reagan does a lot of library work. So I don't know if this is a package that they just added this year that we didn't have access to, or if there was unfortunately I didn't run the numbers, so I'm not sure which one is more cost efficient. But I was kind of hoping that I would get an answer. But clearly we're in a transition, and it may be something that we'll never know the answer to, and we'll just have to look at the financials. But I would say for this go around, we have the coverage elsewhere. So we could approve this minus the cyber and add that at a later date should we feel like we want to switch.
I also feel that I'm not 100% sure, but I would hope that we actually get this through WLS, since, you know, they're really the holders of much of our information and some of our other vendors.
It doesn't come through WLS. It's a it's another company. We're actually paying for it.
No,
I
I don't.
This month.
I didn't mean to imply that. I meant a lot of our data is with WLS, as is a lot of our data is with Paylocity, and those companies hopefully are the ones that are protected.
I think this is more if someone's using our network, right?
No, this is, well, I think it's usually for if we're attacked, you know, with ransomware or something, but we don't, you know, store that much data. A lot of our data is stored by our vendors.
Right. Well, either way, we definitely have coverage. It's just not through Reagan. But like I said, it's current, it's active. So if we want to approve this without the addition of the cyber coverage, that's totally, we'd still be covered.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the insurance policy renewal? I need somebody to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to renew the insurance policy.
Thank you, Lane. Do I have a second?
I think
Without the cyber coverage.
Well, I think you need to say in the amount of, and then
I don't have the amount in front of me. Does somebody have the amount?
The amount of $17,726.99, which represents the total of all premiums without the cyber coverage.
I'll second that.
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, can I
Who
just,
did the second?
Teresa, that was me, Hameson.
Okay, thank you.
everybody, from what I can tell, I'm allowing panelists to start their video. Can everybody look on their screen and?
Yes, there we go.
Okay. Thank you, Ronnie.
That's okay. It took me a while to figure out.
There we go. Whoops.
Now you undid yourself, Pam. Okay.
There we go. Okay, thanks, Ronnie.
It's a work in progress, so anyway, okay. Martha, you
Thanks.
want us to see?
There we go.
Oh, good. It's nice to.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to finance. So we've got Dick's report. I assume everybody received it. Is Dick with us tonight? No. Okay. All right, so thank you. Dick's report's received. Let's look at the final June 2020 statement. Can I have a motion on the table to approve the final June 2020 statement?
I move to approve the final June 2020 statement.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any
questions?
Yeah, I just want to point a couple things out. That, you know, we had a surplus this year of $290,000, which is essentially the second year in a row we've had a surplus of approximately that same amount, where we came in under budget. Of the $290,000, $186,000 of that is under budget in payroll, and we were $29,000 over in building maintenance, which isn't really a surprise, I don't think, to anyone. The surplus was 9.3% of our tax revenue, which is an increase from 9% last year, 6.7% from the year before, and 2.7% in fiscal year 2017. So I just, you know, I know when the budget actually was done, it was very detailed. But again, I just want to point out that we have been having a fair amount of excess year over year.
Thank you, Lane. So all in favor of
I
approving?
have one
Oh,
other
go ahead.
thing. I just wanted to,
Go ahead.
I think this has already been discussed, but I forget, why are we over on Medicare reimbursement? Was that did we underfund it or?
Remember the person who asked for extra, that one man? who
Okay,
was retroactive?
okay, right, okay,
That's what I think it was. It was the spouse.
yes,
who
Right,
Yep.
right, right.
okay.
it was-
So that
Okay.
shouldn't be, that should not be a problem moving forward. Great.
No, that's what that was.
All right, so I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor of approving the final June 2020 statement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Let's look at the July 2020 statement. Give me a motion to approve the July 2020 statement, please. All right, I move to approve the July 2020 statement. Pam, who seconds it?
I second.
Lane, discussion, questions on July 2020? No questions?
I did have a question, hold on.
Sure.
Hold on a second, I got it. We're running a little high on payroll in July. And there was a comment somewhere along the way as to whether there were people working overtime to make up for the fact that there were people working from home who weren't coming in. And I just wasn't sure if that statement was a factual statement. And so I was just curious, Martha, in terms of staffing, do you have enough, are you paying people to work full-time from home and finding that they're not coming in and having to pay people overtime to actually be in the building? Or do you feel like that's sort of leveled out?
I'm not really, I'd have to take a look at that. I'm not really sure why that's happening.
Okay, like I said, it was just, it's, you know, it's 8% of your budget is a monthly amount. We were running about 11%. So I just wanted to just make sure that we weren't sort of double staffing by paying somebody in full for their time at home while we still actually needed a physical body in the building.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you, Martha.
Ronnie, you were saying something?
What are you referencing on this statement? I'm not.
If you look at salaries and you look at year-to-date budget, they're up at like 11%.
So
versus
Marge answered your question. The in our budget, we gave salary raises that I guess went into effect,
Right.
and that might represent that difference.
Yeah.
the ones that have been budgeted for starting July 1.
Large payroll.
You would think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I said, it was just, I just want to, I'm not making a specific comment so much as just want something, make sure people are paying attention to that.
That was, thank you, Marge, for adding that.
Okay, thank you, Lane. So Martha, you'll review that, right?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, thank you. All right. All in favor of approving the July 2020 statement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Unanimous. Let's review the capital fund.
Do we need to move the remnants of the the fiscal year 2020 money into the capital fund?
Yeah, I think
yes,
we,
this
I
is-
think we
this
do,
is the
yeah.
final, right? It says
Right.
final on it. Yep. Lane, you want to make a motion?
So I think, help me out here, it's not my specialty, but I think I move that we move the $290,797 left over from fiscal year 2020 to the capital fund.
And I second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I guess I should have asked for questions. I'm sorry. Did anybody have a question about that? No? Okay, so that's unanimous. Thanks. All right, August bills, let's turn our attention to those.
Liz, you mentioned a couple.
Right. So I'll
Yes.
just go through quickly. So we had a duplicate billing situation. Martha, which one of those are we paying? Did we decide?
Yes, we're paying the Santa Pro.
Okay, perfect. So I would like to make so basically just we had one duplicate and we're going to pay Santa Pro. So I'm going to make the motion that we pay the bills with the exception of the Suburban Carding Co. bill.
I second that.
And then there's the showcases that's over 2,000.
Right. So so I did notice that. So there was one bill where the total came to slightly more than the 2,000 that's allowable. It happened to be something where there was shipping involved, and it wasn't an egregious overstep, but it was something nevertheless that it should have been pre-approved. And we probably should just note that amongst ourselves to keep an eye on it. And related to that, when I was looking on our website, our bylaws specify a different dollar amount for approvals than what we've been using in our policy. So I don't know if moving forward, the bylaws, I think
We
Trump.
talked about this back in December, because I think I pointed it out back then when we looked at the financial policy.
Right, we did.
Yeah.
Was trump the policy.
So should we, so what did, I don't remember exactly all the details from December, forgive me. Did we decide we were going to continue with our policy, or are we supposed to be following the bylaws?
Well, I think at the time we decided we were going to continue the policy, which was $2,000, because I think the bylaws say like 1,000.
Yes.
Yes.
And at the time, everybody thought 1,000 was particularly low. We were actually contemplating moving to 2,000.
But
We
the
ended up not moving to 2,000.
bylaws,
But the bylaws were particularly low.
but the
Well,
bylaws.
what do we want to do today? I don't know. I think bylaws are superior to policy, but I understand that may really tie the director's hands in terms of being able to, that will mean more oversight.
Why don't we come up with more of a formal resolution to change the bylaws for the September meeting? Because we had also had discussions to move it up to the threshold to 3,000, not 2,000.
Well, we just can't do a resolution with the bylaw. We'd have to go into the bylaws.
Amend the bylaws. How's that?
And they have to be looked at by the attorney. And while we're opening them up, we would also look at other things too. So I think it's not like a quick fix.
No, and I concur. I don't know where when the 1,000 went to 2,000. I think that was years ago. Sounds like it was longer than anybody can remember. But yeah, we talked about this back in December when we reviewed the financial policies.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation would be to stay with the 2,000 for the moment. I mean, obviously, if it was an issue, it would have been an issue over the course of the last 10 years.
Yeah, but a lot of things were not looked at over the last 10 years either, and not followed. So that doesn't make.
Again, I guess I like I said, I actually raised the issue when we looked at the financial policy.
Bylaws, I'm just checking now. The bylaws were revised the last time on June 18th, 2013. So 7 years ago,
Okay.
we looked at, and nobody figured this out 7 years ago. So.
Wait, the financial policy though dates back further than that, I think too though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the bylaws. So nobody.
Yeah, no, I completely know that there's a discrepancy between the two.
The board and the director didn't realize they were in conflict with, the policy was in conflict with the bylaws, so.
Well, no one did apparently, or so.
Right. Well, actually, I think I brought this up a year ago, when I brought up the problems with being in compliance, because I happened to be reviewing my notes about that just the other day, and I saw something in there, so.
All right, well, I don't think we're going to be able to solve it tonight,
No,
okay? So
I mean, my recommendation is we look at fixing the bylaws because I think they are
Right.
low.
I agree.
Right.
I think we all agree.
In the interim,
Right.
we're skirting our own bylaws in the interim.
Yes, we are. We are. I mean, I'm not happy about it either, Liz. I'm really not, except to go back on basically the practice.
But couldn't we
that's-
all get kicked off the
know
board
that's
for that?
illegal.
Like, isn't
I
that?
don't know that that's legal or not. Like, now that we're aware of something, it's one thing not to, if you don't know of something and you're breaking the law, that's one thing. But now we're aware of it, so we do have to do something, and we have to do it right.
Well, we've been aware of it for a while, though. Like,
Yeah. We didn't do anything in December
never.
because we wanted to rewrite the bylaws, and we didn't even approve the financial policy.
Well, I think we need to start getting our act together here.
Yeah, and I think September would be, you give everybody time to review, and we'll have it on the agenda for September.
Should we go with 1,000 accepting items COVID related and then revisit it as quickly as we can via the bylaws?
Let me ask you a question. Is anybody opposed to changing the bylaws to 2,000?
Well, I think we have to have a
No,
conversation about it.
we can amend the bylaws. If we want to amend the bylaws tonight for
But we
just
can't
that
amend it.
one area, we could.
No, we have to have the lawyer look at whatever we're going to do to the bylaws.
No, we suggest amending it, and then the attorney reviews it
Don't
and
we have
tells
to
us
put
if it's
that in?
valid.
Do we have to put it in the public eye though for a certain amount of time before we would amend?
Yeah, we just
It's
can't.
been in the public eye since at least December.
I think there's a process where we have to actually present the bylaws as we would like them amended. I don't think it's quite so straightforward.
Okay, so now we're back to let's do that at the September meeting. I think that's a good idea. We'll have it on the agenda for September.
And
So
what's
we'll have to
going to be on the agenda for September?
amending the bylaws.
So from 1,000 to 2,000?
On amending
Right.
the bylaws. You have to have a committee to look at the bylaws and amend them. You just
I think we know the one fact we're looking to change.
need to have a policy committee to look at the bylaws to do that.
No, bylaws are not policy. We're going to create the policy committee tonight. The bylaws are not a policy. That's different. That's the bylaw committee.
Well, we'd have to, yeah. So
I mean, we could go in, I think we could go into the bylaws as many times as we want. It's just a matter of whether it's efficient to go in and change one thing and then change others. However, I think in this instance, it might make sense to go do the research and figure out how to amend them as quickly as possible. And if we need to put something in front of the public for a certain amount of time for them to see it before we do it, then maybe we can get it up there and maybe we have a meeting just to present bylaws so that by September we can get the new bylaws in place for that.
I'm not opposed to amending the bylaws to make them out 2,000 from 1,000. I was actually, like I said, I was surprised when I found out that they two didn't match. It was that whoever made the policy years ago didn't actually update the bylaws at that point in time. And so, I mean, whatever the right process is to make that correction.
There are other things that we
could
could
make sense. Let's put it on. Let's do whatever needs to happen between now and
so
September.
Are you guys okay with? I'm happy to go investigate how we get how we adjust the bylaws for that dollar amount. Are you guys okay if in the interim we go by the bylaws, $1,000 is the ceiling, but accepting things should something come up COVID related that we would go with the 2,000?
I don't know how you could, if you want to follow the bylaws, you can't carve out a COVID exception.
So
That's
yeah,
emergency.
and-
I'm sure the bylaws have something in there for emergencies.
I don't think
Well, maybe this is an emergency. We need one more month to figure it out. I'm not
Okay.
making light of it, Liz. I'm really
Okay,
not.
no,
But
I mean,
I think, like, if you want to go, I would be happy if you review the bylaws and figure out the right way to suggest an amendment at the September meeting. That would be great.
Well,
But we're not
It
going to
might
solve
require
it
public
tonight.
vote.
not
It could
necessarily
require public vote.
amendment, and we may want to add, like, for example, I would like to see in the bylaws having a standing committee for a policy committee. Like, we should always have a policy committee, and that could be in the bylaws. Other libraries have that. And so, if you're going to start doing the work, you may as well do the work and not just do like piecemeal.
Well,
Well, given that we have a very specific fact that we know we need to change, let's focus on making sure that's consistent. And in the so that we have that consistent hopefully by September. And then if there's additional things we need to talk about, then once we know the process, then we can apply it to anything else that we think needs applied. Let's start with fixing the one thing that is an obvious error between the two documents.
all right. So Liz, can you review the process for that for September?
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I may get back to you guys sooner if there's a way to speed that up. And I understand your point, Ronnie, about the bylaws, but I think we can probably go back into them as many times as we want, as frequently as we want, but I bet it's an onerous process. So I just want to figure out what the process is so we can make sure we get rolling to get that number adjusted.
All
Excuse
right.
me.
Is everybody comfortable? Yes, Teresa?
Would you like to make a formal resolution so you know what the person is going to do for September?
We're still in this voting, we're still having a discussion of this bill, the bills. I don't know that we could put a formal resolution inside that. We didn't vote on the bills yet.
You don't have to. You can just finish that, and then just if you want to have a resolution.
I don't
see
think
what
we need a
happens.
resolution at this point.
What I see what happens as I'm listening, whereas people try to remember who said what, say 6 months ago. And I think if you memorialize some of these details, Liz is going to do this or Lane is going to do that.
I don't think we want to change our process tonight vis-a-vis making resolutions just to capture things in the notes. Thankfully, we now have a video recording at our disposal. But let's get through the bills. The only other thing is, so as I was looking through and I found that one duplicate and invoicing situation, I did see that there was a bill, Santa Pro bills us $300 a month, and in May we had paid them $795. And when I went back to try to see what that was, I went to our website and I was unable to find the February and the March bills payable in the board documents. And I'm sure I can find it in my email. But I was thinking for the public, they don't have it, and we probably need somebody to be responsible for looking over the website and making sure that everything's posted there. That we get, I don't know, we have to give Carrie everything and make sure that it gets up there. So we probably need some process around that. I don't know if someone wants to take that on.
I mean, I think, I don't know about the rest of you. I mean, I check the website, and if I find a problem, I report it. I just did that this week, and Carrie just gave me, because, we're still in a transition period, right? So a lot of this stuff used to be fed through the director, and it no longer is. So Carrie gave me the instructions on how we're supposed to report either mistakes or omissions or just things to be changed on the website. And I'm going to pass that to everyone. So there is a formal process so she can keep track of how we suggest changes to the website or omissions.
Okay. And then potentially if we wanted, there might be a place in the bylaws to add in, some responsibility around who's maintaining those records for the public. We could think about that. And then Martha, do you happen to remember what, I think there was a legitimate like carpeting or something that Santa Pro disposed of for us back in May but I just can't remember. Do you happen to remember what that larger bill might have been?
It might have been to clean the carpet in the children's room because we had the ceiling was leaking.
Right, okay.
That Sanipro would charge you for the carpet in the children's room, cleaning it?
I'm not sure. That's the only thing I can think of.
It might have been. So we'll just offline, we'll look into that and just make sure, you know, just because it came up as part of that hiccup, and I just wanted to double check that.
Yeah, Joe should be able to pull the invoice for you.
Yep.
All right, so I think we,
dumpster run or something.
are there any more questions on the August bills? Because if not, we need to vote. All in favor of approving?
Lane, just to answer Lane, and the dumpsters are each $100 a month, and there are 3 of them. And that month we were at $795. So
right, there was. I mean, that was. I mean, like I said, it could have been done with the construction, or to pull the invoice. It should be detailed out.
Right. If it was construction related, then we might have paid for something that should have come out of the construction project.
It seems to me there was like what the contractors had like already like disbanded, and there was extra craps sitting around.
Okay, so we'll probably.
So like I said, I pull the invoice. I think you're going to find there was some sort of extra.
Okay, perfect. So I made a motion. Did someone second that?
Could you review the motion? Because I want to make sure.
Okay, so I made a motion to pay, and Martha, inside of here we have ARCO, and we have the Mount Kisco carding is here too. Oops, sorry, I'm dropping my screen. Is Mount Kisco carding in here as well? If someone else has it up.
You mean Mount Kisco Contracting?
Yes, that should also
the landscape company.
Yeah, I don't see. They should be listed here, but I'm.
Those were the bills that were held back.
Those are the ones held back. So actually they're not listed here because they're not in the August bills. They're from July. So the motion would be to accept the August bills and the July ARCO cleaning and Mount Kisco contracting bills.
Minus the suburban
carding company bill.
Right.
Okay. I second that. All in favor? Aye.
Would you just repeat that already, please?
Sure. So the motion is to accept the August bills, accepting with the exception of Suburban Carding Company, and the July ARCO cleaning and Mount Kisco carding bills.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, let's move to buildings and grounds. Maybe I am going to, of course, ask Martha to speak, but do you all want to handle the Tremco roof maintenance before Martha begins or later on? You know, we discussed the roof maintenance proposal earlier in the year, and again, we got, it was a very stimulating conversation, and we had never voted, right? So it's come up again, and Bill Link has recommended the 1-year option with the 2 inspections, which was option number 2,
right,
which was an annual agreement for $5,544. And I think everyone's worried about weather coming. So are you comfortable if did everybody review the Tremco proposal again or remember enough of it?
Do you want to make a motion and then we'll discuss?
Okay, all right, so I'm just gonna go ahead. I move that we authorize the interim director, to enter into agreement with Tremco for annual roofing maintenance. We choose, on Bill's recommendation, option 2, which is the annual agreement with 2 inspections for a total cost of $5,544
per year. Because it's
yes, annual. Yeah, one year, correct.
And it's 2 inspections per year.
Yes,
Okay.
2 inspections per year. That's, I thought what I said. Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ronnie. Discussion?
So I think, well, I'm inclined that we move forward with it. I want to point out that I'm not sure where our obligations to the building start and stop. And I would like to get a little bit more clarity with the school district in terms of what is their responsibility and what is our responsibility. So for the coming year, we will pick up the cost of the maintenance of that. Should there be at some point some conversation where we find out that we're not really responsible for maintaining the roof or the exterior, then maybe we can figure out the behind the scenes how to.
You have, I don't know the name of the document off the top of my head, but do you have the document that creates the library
Covenant.
via the school board bond?
The covenant.
I do, and I just haven't had a chance to go in and look at this
It's
again and
actually
also
pretty
to talk to the
specific.
district.
Yeah, it actually is pretty specific. It says that all repair and maintenance falls on the library board.
For the entire building, including the
building.
exterior?
Yes.
And that's what has been done
Okay.
throughout the years too. I mean,
Sure.
it would be fantastic, but it would be a major change.
Right. These are the big costs of the building, and they're, typically when you're in a situation like this, you're responsible for the interior, but if that's what it says and it's crystal clear, then that's great.
I read it, I actually pulled it and read it the other day when you raised the question again.
Great.
Because
Thanks, Lane.
particularly relative to the cost of replacing the roof. And it pretty much says the school's obligation stops at the bond to build the building.
Okay.
And what
I have it at my fingertips if somebody wants me to send it on.
what is it? Is it on? It's online. Just
Yeah,
remind
I
me.
don't know. Pam Thornton sent it to me at some point because I asked a question, and so I have a hard copy. But I'm happy to scan it and send it.
Is that in the covenant? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's,
Yeah. If it's the covenant, then yeah. Okay. Yes, that would make sense.
yeah.
Right, because the
think
school district is not responsible for our building. We are responsible. The reason that we are a school district public library was to get a bond passed, right? But that's where the school district's responsibility ends.
Well, we're on school district property. And
They
we're
may own the land.
library
Yeah.
for the bond.
But the specific memorandum of agreement dated November 30th, 1978 between the Board of Education of Chappaqua Central School District and Education Corporation of organizing and existing on the educational laws, blah, 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 and the trustees of the Chappaqua School District Public Library. The sole obligation of the Board of Education shall be to arrange for the completion of the library building and to make all payment of bond and principal interest. School district is record of land, building, equipment, and furniture acquired as part of the Chappaqua Free Association Library through the library board and part of the proceeds of school district bond issued of $2,130,000. But it says sole responsibility. The library board shall be solely responsible for the operations and maintenance of the public library and for all expenses and costs of such operation and maintenance, including but not limited to employment, maintenance, repair, and alterations, et cetera, et cetera.
okay.
So, like I said, I'm happy to send it around. I have a hard
Okay.
copy.
Please do. I want to just be sure that.
All right, thank you, Lane. All right, so are there any more questions about the Tremco proposal? If not, can I have a vote to approve the Tremco proposal as stated in the motion?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, Martha, you could tell Bill we finally voted on it.
I will, okay.
Yes, he'll be happy to hear that.
Yes.
So, okay, good. Thank you. All right,
Thank
so
you.
Martha, if you're ready, do you want to talk some more about buildings and grounds? I know you have news for us.
Yeah, the library lost power as a result of the hurricane, and we were forced to close for a total of 2.5 days. because of the storm conditions. The following, let's see, we had partial power and no internet or Wi-Fi and no air conditioning. So some of the staff was there, but a lot of the staff did not and could not come in. On Friday, the Wi-Fi returned, so we were able to, and the power came back. We were able to open the building, and we put out chairs for the for patrons to access Wi-Fi because a lot of people were without. It was just such a challenge to communicate with the staff the first couple of days because everybody had lost power and their phone service, and it was pretty crazy, but we got through it. There was some damage sustained to the HVAC system, and we've been working with Atlantic Westchester, and they've been in doing repairs. The alarm system was damaged, but it seems to have reset itself and is now back to normal. There was a very low battery, but that Ken from EIPS came in today and swapped out the battery, put a new battery in, so that's back to normal. So we're in the process of cleaning up after the storm. The library reopened to, I don't know, do you want me to continue with my report or?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Continue with your report and yeah, we'll move on from there. Thanks.
Okay, so the library reopened August 4th to patrons for the first time. And we've had a few people coming in, not tremendous crowds, and it's been very, people have been very happy to come in the library, and they've, for the most part, been following our rules. We put up signs reminding people to wear their masks properly. We did have an issue with one person that we considered banning from the library for a while because she was just acting kind of erratic and behaving. She just wasn't behaving in a safe manner, but we haven't seen her in a while. But I have a letter ready to go if we have to ban her from the library because she was kind of upsetting people a little bit. But other than that, it's been fine. People are very happy to be back, and it feels like the right amount of time to be open now. I know it's not very much, but there are libraries about our size or larger that aren't even open to the public yet. So I think we can manage this, and I think we'll just go forward with this for a while anyway. I did, with Lynn Weinig's help, rewrite the employee attendance guidelines. And I would just like to read what I sent out to the staff today. The library is now open and operating, and employees are required to come to work. Of primary importance is the ability to fully staff the public service desk during the library's normal operating hours. However, in the interest of safety and in order to reduce the number of people in the building, staff may work from home up to 4 days per pay period. This will be at the discretion of the department heads and the director and shall depend on the amount of work that can be accomplished remotely and the employee's productivity. So I think that will, I know that we had some issues with people scheduling, or with scheduling people in the library. And I think this will go a long way to get the work done and have people in the building.
And Martha, you said that Lynn already reviewed it, so it has the attorney's blessing?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. She also suggested that the department heads be advised that they must not discriminate and to use their discretion fairly. So I have notified the department heads of that.
Okay, that sounds great. I I guess you'll see how it works, right? It's for this coming pay period, or
No, it's
is there
for,
an end date, or just going forward for now?
it's effective this pay period.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah, actually, I just wanted to mention that the New York State guidelines during COVID for retail, which is actually the retail and office spaces, which is what the library falls into, actually encourages employers to allow their workers to work from home. So, I mean, this goes a little farther than what we had in place previously to allow people to work from home who are able to.
All right. That sounds great. Does anybody have any questions for Martha, or? All right, good,
Thank you.
good
Thank you
luck.
for that good
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, sort of in terms of meeting capacity for people coming in. Are you anywhere near what we had sort of set as a limit, or is it just a trickle?
It hasn't gotten up to the 25 at a time, as far as I know. It might have. I don't think it has, though.
Has
I think
anybody,
Go ahead, Liz.
generally have maybe 10 or 12 people in at a time, maybe 15 total. I mean, it kind of ebbs and flows.
has anyone requested access to the computers or a seat?
No. Well, we have one man who comes in and just wants to sit down and read magazines. We keep telling him that we can't do that. Other than that, people seem to understand, and they come in and gather. You know, we always remind them that they have 30 minutes, and they come in and they gather up their materials and check them out and then leave happily. So it's been fine.
Is there any thought in expanding the hours to let people in?
Not at the moment. I mean, I thought when we start opening on Sunday again in September, I think we should have some weekend hours. But that's really all that I've thought about so far.
And what's sort of your holdback to letting people in for further hours?
Well, 2 libraries have had COVID exposures that have opened up to the public. So I guess I'm a little gun shy about that.
I just read of another library system that shut down, the one in Annapolis. So they had so much trouble. Yeah, I just read it today.
Have they
Anne
opened
Arundel
up
County.
Have they opened up completely to the public?
I'm not sure how many hours they had available to the public, but they had to back off completely. And I'm not sure if it was exposure or they just had trouble with the public. People weren't wearing masks, and they had so many difficulties that the fellow patrons were at risk and the staff was at risk. And so they just shut down all of their public services. I think other than like a curbside pickup type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are continuing the curbside pickup throughout.
Mm-hmm.
I had noticed that there were certain times when for curbside, there was someone sitting in the lobby, sort of monitoring the door. And I don't know if that's because someone had an appointment and they knew someone was coming, or if that was just because of the way it was staffed and that was their sole responsibility during that time. But is there any thought to how we're managing the door and whether someone should be in that lobby area, or whether that it should always be a phone call as opposed to what car you're arriving in and then the person comes and out based on the car?
We have one person in the lobby at all times, pretty much. Well, when we're open, we have one person in the lobby during the hours we're open to the public.
So that must have been the difference then that I noticed. It must have been during hours when we were technically open.
Yeah, and sometimes the the circulation staff will stay in the lobby for curbside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably getting into an area where you'd probably rather me not, but just from my personal experience, I'm just wondering if when people are coming to pick up, I've noticed people waiting, and I'm just wondering, are we doing that in the most efficient way in terms of, you know, because also when the phones were down, it was hard to call from the entrance.
Right.
So I don't know if there was if there's any thought given to how we're managing curbside.
Yeah, it depends. Marge is saying it depends on the volume. And we do have a dedicated phone for pickups now. And so the staff does not have to stay in the, we don't have to have a staff member just waiting in the lobby for somebody. They can call on the phone, and now that the phones are working again, and we have the dedicated phone just for that, so they can be in the circulation area and working.
Right.
Unless it gets really busy, as Marge said.
Right. I'm just thinking the easier we make, the easier and the more streamlined that we keep curbside, the less likely that someone would have an interest in walking into the building if it's simply for picking up materials. So, you know, to minimize our exposure risk, the more efficiently we deliver curbside, the less people will want to come in, is my thought there.
No, I think our curbside's been very efficient, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. So,
Martha?
Uh-huh.
I have a question. You know, school's looking like it's going to start to open up in about 2 weeks. And normally, you know, the Bell kids were so used to coming after school and just coming into the library. Have you guys thought about what you're going to do once that happens? Like, you know, what are you going to do with these Bell kids who decide they want to come in? Because a lot of them I know in the past used to be in the teen section, and then they just kind of wait for their parents to pick them up, which is usually hours later.
Right. Yeah, we haven't actually talked about that yet. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, Bell School is not offering after school activities. So that's there. I would assume that then they're not offering the late bus, that will cut down. But for now, the rules are the rules, up to 25 people. So if that means that that's 25 children, as long as they're over the minimum age and they're able to social distance themselves, then I would assume that they would be welcome for 30 minutes and then they would be asked to leave, right?
Them to sit or anything. So
yeah, because usually they would sit down at a computer, and we're not allowing any sitting. So
no. So I doubt, I don't believe we will have that.
Let's hope they put up the basketball hoops and they go play basketball.
They can play badminton in the courtyard like they used to.
All right, is there anything else you want to cover, Martha, before you get to personnel actions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
A part-time library clerk, Denise Christiana, has resigned effective July 30th, 2020. She's moved to Florida. And that's about all I have for now.
All right, so we'll have to make a resolution on Christine's resignation. So would someone like to put one forth?
Denise's, yeah.
Yes, for Denise's resignation. Ronnie, Liz, anybody?
That's the resignation of Denise Christiana, part-time clerk, effective July 30th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Teresa, do we have to add for what purpose or?
No,
that's fine.
Right, okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, so thank you, Martha. That was great. Thank you again for jumping in. I know it has been a crazy few weeks for you.
It's been a challenge.
Appreciate it. I'm sure it has been. We're still in quite transition mode and figuring everything out, but thank you so much.
I had one other question on the furniture delivery. What else was delivered and where did we put it?
We had furniture for the teen room and we put it in the children's room because it was the only large area we had. The only area that they could actually fit through the doorway to put it in. So
okay.
Which, Liz, it's actually a good segue to my report, and because that's a point I wanted to talk about. So thanks, Martha. We're going to move on to President's report now. So I'm going to start with the construction update. And after I give this update, I'm appointing Lane to take over as our construction liaison. So I reached out to the school district, and in one email was given very, very specific information, such as, and I'm reading from my email, that the work was supposed to start later this week, meaning this week, right? Today's Tuesday. And they were going to complete the inside work in our building so that our space was usable by September 22nd. So it was very specific. They also said that the outside work on our building was going to be completed by October 1st. So I followed up to ask, where are they starting the work, when? Because I knew we had these furniture deliveries and items are stacked in quote unquote the construction areas because we can't use those areas. And I haven't really gotten a clear answer yet. That's why I'm going to be appointing Lane as our construction watchdog. I did follow up with Martha, and she said, if I may speak for you, that she had not received word that they were coming this week to do the work.
No, they were supposed to. They were supposed to start early this week, well, on Monday, but then the storm happened and we haven't heard anything from them at all, except from, I know there was an email about how they were working on the schedule, but that was it.
Yes, right.
Well, the hurricane may have put them in a bind as well. I mean, I think
right.
It's, but you know, one more emergency on top of emergency. So I'll follow up and stay on top of Joe in terms of what the plan is, and make sure that somebody at least keeps hounding them, if nothing else, as to what's the deal, when to expect them, and stay on top of them to hopefully communicate.
That'd be great, Lane, because as I said to them in my reply email, we need to know where you're going to start working. I don't want to be in a situation where we have boxes and furniture piled in the exact area where they're going to start work and we have to kick them out of the library. We're going to lock the doors. They're going to stay there, right? So they finish the work. But we want to be ready. We want to make it easy for the new construction teams to come in. So thank you, Lane. So Lane's going to continue following up with that.
Should we be, I mean, we were assigned like a state person. Should we be following up with that person?
Joe Gala something or other at the school district.
Joe Gramando.
Yeah, he's the construction manager. He's been appointed construction manager for the project, so he should be the point of contact.
Right. So maybe ask him if he has been in touch with Jamie Byron, and the phone number is 518-474-3906. Because that's who's officially in charge of our project. And actually, I'm not sure if that's Joe or us, because that is Chappaqua Library. That's not the school. So I don't know, Lane, you might want to contact that person directly.
Sure, can you tell me what you're looking at, or can you forward me what you're looking at so that I...
Sure, yeah, it's from a board meeting. I admittedly, I pulled it out of my construction tab and I don't have the board meeting that it came from in front of me, but but this is our project manager assigned to the project. So at this point, I'm thinking, since you're tasked with following up on this, perhaps it would be a good time to engage our project manager, and I'll forward this to you.
Yeah, send me what you're looking at just so I can see.
Sure. Yep. It's a letter to Christine, and it indicates that we should be, that's who's in charge of our project.
It's a recent letter from Christine.
So January 17th, 2019.
Okay, that's an old letter from the previous construction company. And
Right, but the project manager is through the state. So would that change? That shouldn't change.
I think it could have.
I think everything changed, Liz. I'm not sure if that specifically changed, but Joe Gramando has been appointed as the project manager, but Lane will look into it.
Send it to me, Liz. I'm happy to follow up and see if I can figure it out.
Great, awesome.
Okay, so that's construction. So maybe we'll have some light at the end of the tunnel here, which would be great. I want to advise everyone, the staff, and who's listening, that we've been discussing a pandemic policy, and that also reverted back to our policy committee discussion that we've had several times. We did have a policy committee in place for a finite period of time. I think it was till last December. So that committee automatically dissolved. But tonight, based on everyone's suggestion, I want to appoint a policy committee with, my understanding is the first policy that the committee is going to be working on is a pandemic policy. So I'd like to appoint the policy committee, and the chairs of that committee, or the two board members running that committee, will be Ronnie and Liz. And my understanding, is that right now Martha won't be able to, well, she'll be able to help you, of course, but she won't be able to sit on the committee. And that, Ronnie, you had some ideas about who you'd like to sit on the committee. So, you and Liz should talk, and then talk to Martha when you know what staff you'd like to invite to help you on this committee.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
In principle, the director would be on the committee, and at some point, either a director will be on the committee.
Right. I think it'd be great for the new director to be on the committee, but to add something else to Martha's plate right now doesn't really seem appropriate.
We'll consult with you, Martha.
Okay, I'm happy to consult.
Yes, so we'll do that.
All right, I didn't really have a lot to say in my report tonight. I want to invite Lane to give us a brief summary on the search committee, give us an update so that everybody, the staff and the public, can hear what's cooking with the search committee.
Sure, and I know the board got a briefing earlier, but we did put out the list, the civil service canvassed the list. There were 9 potential candidates on the civil service list. Of the 9, 1 declined, 1 did not respond, and that left 7. There were 4 candidates at equal level who we have hence received letters, cover letters, and resumes for. And we are in the process of reviewing those 4 candidates and screening those 4 candidates. And those 4 candidates are all at an equal level, hence that meets the civil service rule of 3.
Thank you.
So
and can you, would you mind commenting on the timeline that we're forced to adhere to by civil service?
Sure. The date by which we have to make an offer to a candidate is September 24th. It's a specific 90 days from the day the canvas list goes out.
60 days.
Oh, 60 days, sorry. And so you have to make an offer within that 60 days. Otherwise, the whole process essentially It has to get restarted with a new canvas. You likely would end up with the same candidates, but you have to technically start afresh. And the intent is to screen the 4 potential candidates this week, and then come to the board with feedback and go to the next step of formal interviews.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Looking forward to it, right? Everybody's with bated breath. All right, so that's...
We've taken just to, people on the board, people on the committee all put in both sort of ideas of which that they would like to see a candidate and questions in which they would like to have a candidate asked. And so we have put all of that together and sort of made sure that we're taking a sampling of questions. I mean, obviously those questions all sort of fell into certain buckets. And so to make sure we're taking a sampling of questions from each of the buckets so that we make sure we've looked at it well-rounded, given everybody's feedback.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, before we turn to public comments and questions, so for my benefit and Teresa's benefit, so I just want to confirm, Teresa, that tonight I appointed a policy committee, and the 2 board members on that committee are Ronnie and Liz.
Yes.
And I also, I'll say I appointed Lane to be our construction liaison to the school district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Very good.
Okay, good. All right, let's turn to public comments and questions. Does anybody have a question? Comment?
See anyone?
Do you see any hands up, Ronnie?
Not see any hands up.
Okay. All right, so if there aren't any public comments and questions, I'm going to move to adjourn the board meeting. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Nishat, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so the meeting, oh, I need new prescription, has been adjourned at 8:58 p.m., Teresa.
Find the shot, and the second was?
I'm Pam Wright moved, Nishat
Okay, got it. Okay.
All in favor. Good.
Good.
All right, thank you.